Hi, we're here tonight at the Baptist Church for a public meeting about the Arts and Cultural District that was put together by Beverly Main Streets and the City of Beverly and Montserrat College of Art. Some of you may remember that we applied for a grant to the National Endowment for the Arts to plan an Arts and Cultural District for the city. The Arts and Cultural District is meant to bring together a lot of arts assets and to provide identity and form and shape to what will be an attraction to bring people into Beverly. The meeting tonight is covering three topics. The first one is, what is the Arts District, from the planning exercise that we did with our external consultants. And then the second is, how are we going to implement it? Now that we have a plan in place, what are the next steps for the implementation of the district? In that implementation, we are also tonight talking about a major piece of public art called the Beverly Oracle, which we're proposing to be on the Beverly Common, to be a major draw for people to come to Beverly from all over the world. And the third part is about the actual city's application to the state for formal recognition and designation of the Arts and Cultural District. We intend to put together the application and submit it sometime this summer. Once approved by the state, and there's a process for that, but once approved by the state based upon our planning, then we will be eligible for grants, direct grants in support of cultural institutions and the district itself. So that's why we're here tonight. It's been a great turnout and a lot of participation. Right now folks are in small breakout sessions and they are giving feedback on the district and on the topics that we raised tonight. So that's why we're here.
The Beverly Arts District is a destination. It is a physical place. It has a start, it has an end, and in the middle you're going to find all kinds of really cool, fun, cultural, artsy, happy things happening. There will also be satellite locations throughout the entire community where art happens. The Arts District is an economic development tool. It will help us to attract people who want to live here, businesses that want to open here, tourists who might be in Salem will now want to have a reason to come to Beverly. It's also an identity for the community. We have based our Downtown 2020 initiative on the fact that arts and culture are the economic driver for us, in part because we're so lucky to have Montserrat College of Art right in our downtown. So creating a district and a sense of place around arts and culture and actually letting people know that this is what Beverly is going to be all about is why we're creating the district. So when our team was trying to come up with a name for the Arts District, we thought of all kinds of things. We were really trying to be cute and clever and come up with something that was catchy, but our expert consultants kind of pulled us back in and they said, you know, people associate, they know what an arts district is, so let's just try and keep the term Arts District as part of it. So when you put Beverly in front of that, we thought, okay, well, that's bad, B-A-D, the Beverly Arts District. Do we really want it to be bad? And then we thought, you know what, we're going to embrace this. Bad is good, and the Beverly Arts District is going to be great. So this is the district. Hopefully you can see it in the way back. The brown shaded part is the designated Main Streets downtown district. And I always say it kind of looks like a bird, like with the one wing up there at the top. The dark red is the designated arts district. So the state, as well as Adele and Ricardo, our experts, were very clear about the fact that the district should be fairly small. It needs to be walkable from start to end. But there also needs to be a mass of cultural and artistic activities that happen in that small area. And so after months of thinking about it and walking the district, this is what we came up with that we will be presenting to the state as our designated area. So it's basically from Elliott Street, where the 301 Gallery is almost at Elliott. So if you think of Elliott Street as one end on Cabot, and then the Historical Society building, the Cabot House Museum, is the far end. And in between that, there's a map in the back of the room that shows all the cultural assets that are within that space already. And there are a lot of them. And of course, we hope that there'll be more of them. But that's the designated district. Now, people might say, well, what about Rantoul Street? Well, that, like Porter Mill, for example, would be a secondary location of the Arts District. They can still have a flag that says, I'm a bad member or I'm a bad partner. They're just not in this designated area. So that's it, pretty much from Elliott Street down to the Cabot House Museum. So some of the benefits of the district, it is going to increase our appeal to artists who might want to come here who aren't currently here, to new visitors, to people who might say, boy, I'd like to live in Beverly. It's really kind of a hopping place at this point. It is going to bring new programming and cultural experiences to all of us. There'll be more choices, more things to do, more collaborations, art in more spaces, new jobs, new housing, funding opportunities. And the nicest thing too is that more artists might be able to make a living at this, at their work and their craft, because there will be opportunities for collaborations. So what we're going to do to launch it, and our little committee, the folks who stood up, this is the plan that we've come up with starting this summer, actually kind of starting tonight. The branding is about getting the word out that we do have an arts district. We are going to be kind of working it and having events and doing programming. The second piece of it is we need to get people to sign up to be part of the arts district, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. From a programming standpoint, there were some folks, and I think some of them are actually in the room tonight. Did I see Margot? Yeah, in the back there. Margot and her husband and Lucas Spivey and B. Modisette from Montserrat had started an art walk about a year and a half ago or so. And then different things have happened in their lives, and it's time to kind of reinvigorate that and relaunch that. So we're going to be working with folks on our task force to try and get that going again. And so we're really excited about that. And then, as I mentioned, we're going to be spending some time looking for some money to actually fund some of this. So from a branding standpoint, when you came in, there are 4 logos. We've worked with Andy Bablow, who I also saw here. Andy is in the back. He's a really cool artist who also has his business downtown on Knowlton Street. And Andy's been working with us and our committees to come up with a logo for BAD. So we have each of these on flip charts out in the lobby. We'd love to get your thoughts about what each one of them says to you. And then later this week, our committee will be selecting the one that we're going to move forward with. So that's going to be kind of the branding. Why artists should be BAD. Benefits in terms of signing up. You can see up there, part of probably the biggest thing is that you'll have a louder voice in what happens in the Arts District. And we'll be getting out some information about this really cool database that we're going to be using. It's a free database that the New England Foundation for the Arts, or NEFA, created. It's called creativeground.org. And in the next week or so, we're going to go out and create the BAD profile for that. And then we're going to invite anybody in the community who thinks they're a creative person in any way, shape, or form to fill out a profile and link back to us. And that's how we'll kind of create our database of who all the cool artsy people are in Beverly. So wait for another week or so to hear about that, but it's free. It takes 5 minutes to sign up your profile, and then people can search. You can say, boy, I'm looking. I can't tell you how many calls I've gotten in the last couple of months for muralists. Now that, like, the Prestons did their mural, and there's one above Brown's Bikes, and they're all over the place, and people are calling us. I've gotten some names, but this is where people could go out and say, who does murals? And get your name if that's your thing. So you'll hear more about that. This is the enlisting part. This summer at our Main Streets events, we're going to be all over the place with little buttons and goodies and handouts and all kinds of things that Andy's working with us on. And then we're also back to these logos. One of these colors will be selected as kind of our signature color, and we're going to start to get this out throughout the district, whether it's on the trash cans or a sidewalk path, you know, kind of like the Harbor Walk in Boston or the Freedom Trail. We have lots of ideas for how to get the signature color out, which will be another reminder that you're in the district. And that's pretty much it. So a lot happening over the summer in the next couple of months. Our little committee, our BAD task force, has really only had one meeting. So if anybody's interested in joining us, just let me know. We haven't gone too far yet, so we'd love to have people's help in doing all this stuff. And don't forget when you leave to let us know what you think about each of the logos, because your voice counts as well. So with that, I would like to introduce to you Anna Schuleit-Haber, who, as Steve said, is the artist who was selected from our national competition for public art, and she is going to share with you her vision for the Beverly Oracle.
I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you so much for that beautiful segue into what I get to present to you now. I've already had the chance to talk to many of you, and if I have so, then I'll try to do an extra good job to do it again. I am so happy to be based in Beverly at the moment as the visiting artist at Montserrat College of Art, and I've had an amazing time working with my 6 interns, some of which are here, on this project called the Beverly Oracle. I was honored a year ago to be selected as the winner of the competition, and I want to tell you a little bit about why and what we're doing. So this is the Beverly Cultural District that Jin just talked about. When I saw this map, having never been to Beverly, I decided I wanted to do a project that would knit the different edges and corners of the district together and connect them with one another. So what I proposed was a public art project that helps link the cultural district to assets beyond its boundaries. Jin talked about the walkability of the project, that it could be a map that would be surveyable, easily accessible, and sort of one walk would cover the edges of the district easily. I wanted to propose a project that promotes a consistent visual identity within the district and builds connections among the district's different nodes. A public art project that is integrated within the landscape and reflects the broader environment and Beverly's unique cultural and historic qualities. A public project that can knit the district together, that strengthens the identity of downtown Beverly, and that helps to identify the identity of the cultural district. A public art project that promotes connections among the district's various nodes, the node anchored by Montserrat College of Art, the Public Library, and Cabot Street. Those are the 3 I, as an outsider, was drawn to the most. A public art project, and I think those kind of are the first things that people are drawn to when they get to Beverly. A public art project that will be integrated with the landscape of its surrounding sites, both through the design of the art and meaning conveyed by the art. And I proposed a public art project that will be designed to become a part of the district and reflect the history and identity of the place rather than be viewed as a work that might occur anywhere else. A public art project that uses Beverly's rich history as a source of inspiration. So the project I came up with was a project that was truly inspired by Beverly. I've always loved chairs, and I decided that I would create a project that would allow a person to come and sit down, take a seat, and take a breath, and that would be on the Beverly Common. And I propose that it will be connected as an interactive, highly visible public art project within 4 other different places, namely Park Street, the train station, the corner of Cabot and Central Street, the corner of Cabot and Dane Street, and the corner of Cabot and Winter Street. So what I proposed was to create an oracle. As most of you have probably heard, I bet there's no one here who hasn't heard about the project. But I'd like to create an oracle that is poetry-based, revolving around a single strange chair, painted frescoes, smart glass, and a library of luminous answers. And one of the inspirations for this project is the Greek oracle of Delphi. So taking the chair as the sort of central point of the project, I'd like to place the chair in a small structure that's mostly glass, on the Beverly Common. Invite you to come inside and sit down. You will enter the Oracle's brick and glass structure, and that structure we're designing right now. I'm working with Thad Samowski at Samasco and Burbridge. We're designing this structure based on 17th century garden follies that were part of big villas and castles. And this one will be just as small, very intimate. You will come inside, sit in a chair specially designed. The windows of the Oracle will be made of smart glass, and a voice will prompt the visitor to sit down and ask a question. The spoken response of the Oracle that is then given to you will be drawn from a pool of answers contributed by writers and poets from all across the country. These individuals will have been consulted by me in a personal interview prior to the opening of the Oracle, in an adventurous road trip that will span several months and be documented as a full-length film. So I brought to you the early sketches of the Oracle, which were sort of this first sketching out of the sizes and dimensions of what we're talking about. A small structure that's a single room structure. It would not have separate rooms, it would just be a single room. And here you see the chair in the middle, sort of giving you a chance to sit down. And then the common itself, I'm going to address in a minute. We have made a 3-minute short trailer telling you about our journey to get the answers for the Oracle before it is launched.
She got a couple kids living in New York, and I heard something about she's with a guy who left his wife. Let's go to the bar.
So you're going to take this across the country?
Yeah.
Good luck. It's gorgeous. Good luck with it, though.
No, I still have my...
Good to see you.
So why I'm visiting you today in Brunswick, in your house, is to ask you if you would be willing to be a participant in a project that I'm now working on, which brings together the voices of many different poets and writers from across the country, which is called the Beverly Oracle. And it is an oracle that I'm building, which will be both visual as well as literal. Mm-hmm. It's visual in that it is a structure built on the Beverly Common, and will be public, open 24 hours a day. The entire quality of the Oracle depends on the quality of the answers. Yeah. And they could never be my answers. They should not be my answers, or they should not also be random answers. They should be answers that are given in a meaningful way, as contributions from people who I admire. So I'm here today to ask you if you would be willing to give us our first answer to the Oracle.
I'd be honored to give you the first answer to the Oracle. That sounds like, I love it, yes.
Thank you. And in asking you for this, I want to ask you to imagine that the question to which you're giving an answer has not yet been asked. So you're not answering a specific question, you're answering no question, right. In fact. You're giving me an answer before the question has been asked, and that requires a leap of the imagination.
Right.
And so whatever that means to you as a poet, it could be just a few words. It could also be a full sentence or 2 or 3. Yeah. We would be so appreciative to receive from you.
I'd be happy to try. It's a leap of faith to think about. All right. I'm ready with my answer for the Oracle, the Beverly Oracle.
I intend to drive that car all the way across the country to visit all these poets and writers. I'm going to give you a very quick answer of why I want to do that. If I called them by phone or I emailed them and I asked them for an answer for the Beverly Oracle, it would be too simple. It would be not hard enough. What I want to do is make a journey out of this that makes people really then take a journey to see Beverly in response in order to get one of these answers. Also, there will be a website about this project, but the answers cannot be had on the website. You have to actually come to the structure in Beverly to get the answer. You have to sit in that chair physically, park your car, walk the common, walk the arts district, and sit down and get that answer. And so I'm making this pilgrimage beforehand to get the answers so that you can then make the pilgrimage to get an answer that I've collected from somewhere in Nebraska. So I would like now to ask Thad to come and join me to help explain to you why we're choosing the Beverly Common as our location for this project. Go ahead.
Good evening, everybody. I find myself in a church and I need to make a confession. I love Anna. She's brilliant, she's beautiful, she's smart. And when she first presented this project, I said, I need to force myself into this because it's so interesting. Maybe I can help as somebody who knows Beverly fairly well. And the cool thing about Anna, want me here? Sure. The cool thing about Anna is that she was very open to that. She recognized I had a modicum of expertise in a limited area, and she just said, sure, come on in and let's do this. So as a result, we really got to work together on this. But it's clearly Anna's project. I'm just the hands that have some knowledge of how to draw buildings, maybe slightly better than Anna. But the first thing we did was we said, she said, this is on the common, and we said, well, where on the common? Because the common is a fairly big area. So this is the common as seen from the air. You can see the library on the upper left, the Hardy building on the lower left, Dane Street across the top, and the Montserrat Student Village is just off the sheet. So we looked at this and immediately said, wow, isn't this interesting? It's very formal in the front, extremely formal, very symmetrical. And when you get to the flagpole point, it becomes very informal, sort of the sheep pasture, Montserrat Frisbee area, down to the area where the Beverly Rotary gazebo is. We thought, well, that's really interesting. There's sort of a dichotomy between the formality, and I think the Cass Gilbert Libraries might be the next slide. So Cass Gilbert's not an unknown architect. He did the U.S. Supreme Court building, the Woolworth Tower in New York, a bunch of state capitals. This is a really important building. We wanted to respect its importance and how it sits on axes with the main walkways of the common. The next building, the Hardy building, is a fairly domineering, substantial building that could and should have a strong axis from its front door to the common. In our minds, that's really the central point where those two meet, is really, maybe on the next slide, that central point is really where the flag ought to be at those two major intersections. And the oracle could then slide back to generally where the flagpole is, which is where the sort of blue building is shown, and really frame that formality. The building is literally the shape of the arch of the Cass Gilbert Library, just flipped out into floor plan. The front of it is very square, like the front porch of the library. The back of it is very round, like the rounded sheep pasture kind of part of the common. So we're making a really beautiful space of the formal part of the common, and respecting, we think, the history of both buildings, while also respecting the fact that it is kind of two commons, but you can still see through and across. 20 years or so ago, I think the city wisely invested in redoing the common. Those trees are to scale. They're really there. They're beautiful. They make a wonderful wall between the residences of Dane Street. But even the houses on Dane Street, they're all in a row, and as soon as you get to the end of that formality, they kind of break off. There's something magic about that, and it was that magic that we're trying to capture in the location of the building on the common, but also even the literal shape of the building is driven by that actual site plan. One interesting thing, we recognize for cost purposes, we don't want to disrupt the common. It's mature. So we are quite literally just adding that circle where the flag is shown, just intruding ever so slightly into the circle where the flag is now, and making a connecting walkway from the front door of Montserrat into that flag area. We think the flag ends up being more prominent. We think the formality of that area is honoring the Cass Gilbert Library better, as well as the Hardy Building better. And we think the sheep that are shown at the very bottom of the drawing will feel more relaxed out on the backside of the thing. So it's a single room, as Anna said. This is the floor plan. You can see that shape. These are the first initial sketches. It wants to be modern enough so that it isn't trying to compete with the history. It wants to be a garden folly kind of feel. We're talking about natural materials like zinc, glass, things which won't go out of style, things that will wear well. And so these are the very first images of the building. Anna, what did I miss?
Thank you, Thad. It's the first time we did this together, so you can give us feedback on how we did. But I want to end on this last thing, which is all the presentations I've done so far through Montserrat have ended on me asking you what you would ask the Oracle if you were visiting it now. At the end of this, one of my interns will have a basket with little tags, and please do, if you haven't yet, give us your question. You don't have to write down your name. Just give us a really good question that you would ask of the Oracle if you were using it today. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to follow that wonderful presentation by being very brief. We want to give everybody here an opportunity to reflect and respond to what you've seen, but I'm just going to touch on very quickly what the city is doing with Montserrat College and Main Streets to help implement a lot of the great ideas that you've heard about tonight. And one of those is to seek designation with the Massachusetts Cultural Council as a cultural district. And what that does is it really helps us support artists, support the institutions that will create the opportunities for the kinds of programming that you just saw. I think what's great for me to follow the presentation by Anna is that it's a great example of what we can do as a community to support art, the endeavor of art, and celebration of culture in our community, and how that can enrich our lives as a community. It's also an incredibly important step for us as a community in terms of economic development, and Jen hit on that a lot earlier. By creating a cultural district, not only are we kind of thematically presenting that to the country, the world in some cases, we're branding that through BAD, but we're also going to be eligible for grants and funding, which is also a very important piece of this. By becoming a cultural district through MCC, we will have access to two particular grant programs that will support institutions such as the Cultural Facilities Fund, that will support capital projects in the arts, humanities, and sciences. It will expand access to education, create jobs in construction, cultural tourism, and improve quality of life. And so this is a grant program to help us with the infrastructure that will support arts and help grow the arts in our community. And again, there's really three parts to this. It's to help enrich our lives as a community and improve access and education to the arts. But it's to bring more tourism, bring more interest in the community. And it's also an economic development tool in that new businesses, new industries, particularly in the creative class, are looking for places that have a vibrant center, a vibrant cultural scene. And a lot of times, new businesses are choosing location based on that concept rather than where's the lowest tax base? Where's it going to cost me less for taxes? They want to make sure that there's a vibrant community, that they can attract young talent or middle-aged talent to their business, to grow their business. And then there's also the Adams Art Program, which I guess it supports projects that revitalize communities, create jobs, and grow creative industries, and increase engagement in cultural activities. This is, in my mind, kind of an innovative grant or innovation grant that helps nonprofits or institutions test out new ideas to engage the public and grow interest in the arts and in programming and the science as well. So that's generally what that is. I want to give people a chance to respond to all those things that you saw tonight. But as far as timing and process, we will be submitting in concert with Montserrat and Main Streets an application to MCC for designation a little bit later this summer. There will be a site visit by a site advisor with MCC, and hopefully the idea is that we will be before their board in October for a formal vote. I presume, we expect to be designated a cultural institution, and that will unlock some resources for us as a community to really, like I said, grow the ideas that have been presented to you. So with that, like I said, I wanted to be short. We will be breaking off into 4 different groups, and we'll be looking for your responses. I'll let Jen tell you about that.
Thank you, Aaron. Yes, so that concludes, thank you. That concludes the presentation part of the evening, and what we've learned in other community meetings is that we get to hear from more people if we break up in small groups. So we've got 4 easels set up in 4 corners of the room. If you can stay with us and join a group, just pick one. There's a facilitator. Each group is going to be asking the same 3 questions. If we could have all the facilitators up front, and we'll start with Marion Blythe up here in this corner.
Okay, we had some wonderful input in the group in the upper left corner of this room. And our first question was, how can we get the community involved in BAD? We had several interesting comments come out of it. One of them was the reference to having art in places that you would not expect people would see art, like the Improbable Poetry Tour that was held in auto body shops and just different tattoo parlors and a few other places people met. So that was one thing, be aware of where it is. And we didn't talk about it earlier, about music and dance. It's all part of the art that everybody's talking about, but it was a very good point because that's all part of the art. Another comment was there's some history in Beverly itself on what art, in terms of the history of the art in Beverly, like Sandy's Jazz Revival, and that to be aware of that history and to make sure that's included in the Arts District. One of the other issues that came up is the scant presence of rehearsal spaces for performances that someone referred to an article in the Boston has the same problem, but that is generally a problem. We know that by requests that have come to our organization. How to get the word out, which is what that question is that one of the business owners found it by email. How if people don't have that email, what are going to be the ways to get it out? That we should look carefully at the electronic ways of getting things out. People aren't necessarily buying newspapers. There's not an easy one-place bulletin board. So that came up, and the last one was consider having art challenges at different points in time, both for children as well as adults. If you do a children's piece of it and have them displayed in a prominent place so people would come down to the district. If it was children involved at some point, you get families involved, but you just have all different kinds of them, and their surrounding friends and families will come. So that was the other thing about how to get people involved. What do you think of the Oracle? These are some of the comments. Love that it was interactive, like that it has a connection to the other states, that it's different every time, and that it can be built upon in future years. So those were some positive comments. Overall, they were all positive comments, actually. Fabulous. Some of the worries were that we keep a standard for what the answers are from the Oracle, so that it wouldn't be like a flip answer or a game show-like answer, but it have some depth and meaning to them, and have there be a set of standards. The issue of whether it could be connected to the past and great responses and answers in literature, so that if current questions were asked, could sometimes they get an answer from the past thinking or philosophy that may or may not fit. I don't know the answer to that. It came up in the group. Very unique. Everybody liked that. And the one thing that came up, and I know it's come up before, is the issue of security. How are we going to secure it, making sure that it's protected from graffiti, any vandalism? How do you watch over that? We know that there's a group addressing that, but people were concerned. And then the other issue was, should it be open 24/7? A suggestion was made, consider having there be limited hours, and it might be easier to protect it. So that's just the feedback from our group there. And the last one is, what do you think of the proposed location on the Common? Every response was extremely positive. Great spot, a perfect spot. Loved the change in the path and moving the flagpole, and nowhere else in Beverly it could go, was one of the statements made. Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay. So we had actually very similar comments. So I'm going to try and just highlight what was different in our group, which was, thank you everybody for your input and being respectful to each other. Okay, how can we get the community involved in BAD? We had similar suggestions on centralized information. One of the things that came up was maybe a physical kiosk in the hopefully soon to be redone Ellis Square, for people, for not just tourists, but people walking around downtown. Let's see. We also touched on the need for collaborative space and work, and to put together programming for artists, not just for people who are supporting the arts, but workshops, events such as like the Poetry Festival that just happened in Salem, things like that. Let's see. Oh, yeah, that's right. That was a neat idea, to have kind of a facade of the Oracle that you could travel with, so that people could get used to it before it exists and sort of feel it out, and it might be more of a physical interaction. That was a really good idea than just seeing the video. So that could be something to present at Arts Fest and other, the block party, things like that, and then travel around to the different civic associations in the city and get people involved from other parts of Beverly. Okay, so what did we think about the Oracle? Let's see, people were pretty interested in the fact that it's storytelling, bringing storytelling culture back to the forefront of our minds, and also paying homage to, ancient history of art and more of a global perspective of art. We also questioned what art is, briefly. But we didn't get too involved in that. That would have taken way too long. Okay, so the proposed location. There were lots of positive feedback, but also some concerns about the possibility of the Oracle dividing the Commons by being centered in the middle there. And then the safety aspect of the sports that are played on one side of the Commons. And other than that, people were pretty positive about the design and the moving. But yeah, that was it. Thanks.
Thank you. All right. Okay, so how can the community get better involved in BAD? High school students as interns, perhaps. Multi-generational events, activities that include the community. Public art contests, sidewalk arts and competitions, sand art competitions. We like the idea that, another question, that it was a link close to the beach, and so that would be another type of art. Downtown Cultural Center and a digital display, much like Chronicle does their videos of going through the different back roads and things, that this documentary that's going to be made would probably be used as a marketing tool to bring other people to Beverly, but also within Beverly, that it could be shown someplace where you could see it. Multiple community meetings and days and times so that people get more input into things having to do with the cultural center, with an opportunity, because sometimes people can't make evening meetings and other people can't make daytime meetings. Volunteers, to create a skills database so that when we need volunteers or we need people with certain expertise to help facilitate things within the Arts District, we have a database. To build a gallery database, where are the galleries, a map, an interactive map for the downtown area. A cultural center building, someplace where people can have meetings, where they can go to see things, and digital as well as physical art. What did we think of the article? People liked it. They felt it was interactive. They felt it was a contemporary design and used technology in that contemporaneous. That it was spiritual. That it was unusual and it would draw people. That the creative process making the documentary was very much liked and appreciated, and they really liked the idea of the displays all around town. What do we think of the proposed location? Good as a link to the coastline. We were concerned about parking and directing people when they come into town. Where could they park and get to it? Drawing people, bringing different life to the common. It was a little bit secluded. That wasn't a bad thing necessarily, we felt. Gives people vision, and direct contact with Montserrat as an advantage of being there also. That was ours.
Thank you.
Well, as the last group, we have many repeats, so I'll be as brief as possible. But in terms of how we can get the community involved, one of the biggest things was to start with the creative groups to get the buzz going and really target all these wonderful events that we have upcoming with Arts Fest and the 3 block parties, and to give out as much swag as possible, because people love free things, and that will really get the buzz going. Just you get a sticker and maybe someone will put it up and then someone sees that sticker, and that's really, little things can make a world of difference. Also really working on social media and I know that there's going to be a link from the Main Streets website with social media for the Arts and Cultural District, but that's a huge way to get it out there. And let's just see. For the Arts Walk and getting that relaunched, getting all of the businesses involved. So later business hours for all of the stores, live music, outdoor music, really taking advantage of the new and improved Ellis Square that we're going to have pretty soon. The city's already started to do a little bit of work on Ellis Square, so really highlighting such a wonderful public space that we have right in the center of town. And then in terms of what do you think of the Oracle, a lot of people, I think this was their first time hearing Anna speak tonight, and that made a world of difference, particularly the video. Again, a lot of people didn't realize that there are so many social media groups surrounding the Oracle, so I think that we really need to get those out there. And one point was for the satellite locations, are the answers to the questions, is this going to be fair to the neighbors who live in these near these satellite locations? And I'm trying to think what else hasn't been said. Maybe highlighting, linking up the Oracle to an event for greater publicity to really get it on a national level. And we had a little bit of conflicting reactions to the proposed location. Some said that it's off the beaten path and it's not ideal, so how do we get people to come and see the Oracle when, again, as it's been said, there's not a lot of parking, but maybe we can get people to come and visit the district as a whole, and then the Oracle will be the final destination. And then others in the group said that it's the perfect location because it speaks to its inspiration, the Oracle of Delphi, and that really was all about the journey and the transformation and the travels of getting there, so that the common is thus a perfect location. And I think that's all. Great. Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you all again for being here tonight, for your participation and your involvement, for your feedback and participation in the groups. Within a week's time, all this feedback will get posted on the Beverly Main Streets website for you all to see. And we will also, in that same location, keep you posted as we move forward with this project. It's our hope that you are as excited about this as we are, about the Arts and Cultural District for downtown Beverly, about the Oracle, and about getting the official designation from the state. If you want to get involved in the BAD task force, and if you are a BAD task force potential member, please see Jen Wallace and come on down. This is not an exclusive club. Everybody is welcome to participate. Thank you very, very much.